All right, fans of music, welcome back. It is Dave, the Real Music Observer, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there, just like yours truly right here. Okay, so you watch this Eagles documentary, and you kind of get the impression that the band Poco is sort of like the junkyard for the Eagles. We're going to go climbing through and finding some stuff that we need in case our band breaks down. At the beginning, it was Randy Meisner. Of course, he was just pulled over from Poco. His voice, incredible. His harmonies, amazing. His musicianship, top-notch. Here's a guy who sang the Eagles' #1 song, Take It to the Limit, and had some of those lyrics and really brought something to the table that was very unique, including all of those great high notes that he hit. When Randy got fed up with Fry and Henley, he hit the road. The guys in the documentary, of course, make Randy sound like some sort of misfit because he had trouble singing the high note at times at concerts, but when he did, it was just one of these epic moments, and he got tired of having all that pressure on him to sing the song, and eventually he just left. He quit because the Eagles, with all these alpha guys around, and Randy being more of a quiet, soft-spoken guy, it didn't work in that situation, and I can't blame Randy. Randy struggled with substance abuse and a lot of other issues after that. That level of fame is hard to really grasp, and all of the debauchery that was going on. So who do the Eagles go for after Randy leaves? Well, Tim Schmidt, and he was in Poco. He's the guy who replaced Randy in Poco. It's very interesting how the Eagles said, okay, we'll just take another one of their guys. And sure enough, Tim takes the bait because according to Glenn Fry, he was in a bar somewhere, or Irving Azoff tells the story, yeah, I just saw Tim in a bar somewhere, and he was just, out of his mind, either drunk or whatever, and and it's like, Glenn Fry's like, yeah, if you're making $250 a week for the last 10 years, you'd be gacked up out of your mind too. It's just, the late Glenn Fry, I can't emphasize enough how talented he was, but in this documentary, he just seems like, at times, a little maniacal. And, he's telling Randy he just should quit. If he doesn't like it, just quit. And then, maybe he had this vision for replacing Randy, who seems to be a fairly easy guy to get along with. The point of this video, though, is to look at Poco as a band. Poco, groundbreaking, 1968 is when that band got off the ground. And they had, Richie Furay and Jim Messina, Rusty Young, who just is kind of like the last man standing these days. He's been around through every incarnation of the group. Later on, Paul Cotton would join the band when Messina left. Paul Cotton from the Illinois Speed Press, which is a great band to go listen to. A different style than your country rock stuff. Paul brought some R&B sensibilities to this, injected a lot of different style. I would say Paul Cotton is like a poor man's Stephen Stills as far as his guitar work. It's really incredible. And he became a good, a great lead singer, like a tune like Bad Weather, for instance, if you go back and listen to that. The Eagles, maybe they weren't influenced by Poco. I just would laugh at that. I think they were influenced by everybody on the scene at that time, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and Young, and they had more of their own sound for sure, but they were borrowing, and in some cases stealing. All right, now you may say, well, look, Poco never broke out the way the Eagles broke out, and a lot of that is due to being on a label like MCA. I'm just being honest. I used to work with these guys in the 80s, and I was never impressed with their level of intensity or promotion. They had like 2 or 3 artists that they'd spend the farm on. After a while, it was like, okay, Poco's coming out with an album. We're just, We'll put it out for them, and that's all we can do. We can hope that somebody somewhere in radio plays a song of theirs and it becomes a hit. That's kind of what they were all about. Yeah, you release the actual vinyl single. There's a tune called Everlasting Kind from their album Under the Gun, which was released as a third single from that album. They did absolutely no promotions on the song. It should have been a top 10 song. Should have been Crazy Love Part 2. I mean, it just had all of those great elements and was a perfect song for 1980. All right. So the Eagles borrow, steal, and then almost mock Poco. And it's just kind of sad as a music fan because a lot of folks don't know who Poco is. And if they know him for like one or two songs at the most. They had a comeback album in the late 1980s, a tune that was Call It Love, did really well. And they had Richard Marx helping out on some production on a Randy Meisner power ballad from that album. And that was kind of like the last commercial gasp. And then some of the original guys left again. And then some of the other guys who were involved, like Paul Cotton, came back. And they technically aren't broken up, but they're a little bit on the dormant side. Rusty Young came out with a solo album last year and it was really good. If you like the country rock genre, like authentic. Poco never really sold out their sound completely like the Eagles did on Hotel California and then on the Long Run. Of course, now the Eagles are clinging to that because they're going after their country rock fan base more than I think their older rock base because they've got Vince Gill in the band, and I think that really pulls in that crowd. So in any event, if you haven't heard Poco, I'd go listen to him. And if you're the Eagles, you gotta be at least somewhat appreciative and not mocking of what Poco did to lay the groundwork for the Eagles and their super huge, incredible success. Okay, I'm done. I'll be back soon. Talk to you then.